My name is FATEMEH FOROUZAN, and I'm a member of the TIFF Next Wave Committee, the team that programs this festival for all of you. On behalf of TIFF Next Wave, I'd like to welcome you to today's screening of Jinn by Nijla Mu'min. To begin, we'd like to acknowledge that tonight's event is taking place on the treaty territory of the Mississaugas of New Credit, the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, and the Huron-Wendat. We are grateful to have the opportunity to work and gather on this land. Thank you to our lead sponsor, Bell, and our major sponsor, RBC, L'Oreal Paris, and Visa. Thank you also to our major public sponsors, the City of Toronto and Ontario Art Council, for their ongoing support. The TIFF Next Wave Committee is supported by the Slate Family Foundation Learning Fund. And of course, thank you to our members and donors for their generous contributions to TIFF, and to those who support TIFF's learning programs year-round. We would also like to thank Orion Classics for providing us with this film. As well, we would like to extend a thank you to our programming partner for this screening, the Regent Park Film Festival. If you're wondering how to get up on this stage too, TIFF is already recruiting new members for the 2019-2020 TIFF Next Wave Committee, a group of 12 high school students like me who love film, who plan events like this festival and get to tag films in the September festival as well. Applications are due in May and will be available at tiffnextwave.net, tiff.net/nextwave. I've seen Jinn 3 times now, and it's one of my favorite movies at this festival. It is beautifully shot, and the plot is perfect. It's a coming of age film that I can relate to as a Muslim woman growing up. That's why Jinn is important. It paves the way for Muslims, people of color, and women in film. It's relatable to a wide variety of audiences, showing that diversity is not just limited to those in the film. Nijla Mu'min has given us a film that shows us that we matter, that people like me matter and are worth representing. So we are very lucky to have her at our film today, and so without further ado, Nijla Mu'min.
Thank you so much for that beautiful intro. It means so much to be here. I came from Los Angeles and just, recently got off a flight, so it means a lot. This film is very close to my heart. It is a story of family, of love, of finding yourself. And I knew when I made this film, I wanted to tell a story that I had never seen before, a story that reflected the people that I know and the person that I am. So I really hope that you enjoy it. And I'll be here afterwards for a Q&A if you have any questions. So thank you so much.
So to start off, we're going to ask Nijla a couple questions, and then we're going to throw it to you in the audience.
All right. Thank you so much for this film. I absolutely loved it with all my heart. I just wanted to know, what was it like working with the actors behind the scenes? Did you have any pre-production kind of rehearsals, any specific directions that you had that you really wanted to portray in your film?
Definitely. First, my name is pronounced Nijla, but it's okay. I just wanted to put that out there. So working with the actors was amazing because they were all so committed to the story, and they came in with an openness and curiosity about the world that we were building. So I did a lot of just building relationships with them, providing them with information, articles, videos to get them immersed in this world, because most of them are not Muslim. So it was a lot of just building that trust and giving them the information they needed to be able to come into this role, these roles, and embody them with a lot of different textures. So it was, we didn't have a lot of time to do rehearsals for a lot of the actors, but they came in and they brought, so much of their talent, and I was really blessed to have that.
So much light.
Yeah, it was a great ensemble cast that we had.
The title of the film, Jinn, is a really interesting title, and it plays a lot into the film. And I was just wondering, what was your inspiration for making that the title and what it meant?
Yeah, I talked about this earlier, but I really kind of approached this film from the protagonist's point of view. Summer, and she's entering this world where she is kind of navigating several worlds, and in a way that's what Jinn do. You know, they're in a parallel universe made of smokeless flame, and they have kind of free will, but with that they can tempt people to do things they're not supposed to do, or do things that, you know, aren't kind of deemed good. So Summer is also kind of navigating the struggle of who am I, and who am I going to be in this situation versus this other situation. So I really wanted to play with her relationship with entering a world and being introduced to this kind of mythology and what it meant to her particular struggle as she is exploring her identity. So it was really from that character's perspective that we arrive at the title of the film.
That's so beautiful. So an extended metaphor.
Yes.
And yes, now I would like to give the power to the audience. Any questions? Oh yes, the beautiful beanie, right in the middle. She has blue and white, black and white. I don't know the color scheme. I can't really see from here. It's blue. Oh, Flora's sister.
How are you?
Good, and you?
I'm good.
Good.
Okay, so one of the scenes in the movie was kind of controversial. It was like the halal hotties, where she had a hijab and she was wearing a bra. I just want to know like your thought process behind putting that scene in. If you thought it was like too much, or like what was the audience response, I guess?
Yeah, bringing that scene in was important to illustrate this clash of this kind of clash of identity components that Summer is kind of going through in the film. So at one point she wants to be with her mother once, and she, you know, really is kind of embracing this new religion and wanting to follow all its tenets. But on the other side of that, she wants to be desired, and she's also wrestling with what it means to be desirable, what it means to be beautiful, what it means to be sexy in this kind of public school atmosphere. So she has all of that around her. And so that scene is where they all kind of clash and converge. And I knew, you know, that it is maybe controversial, but I didn't want to hold back, because with this film, I wanted to show people as people, and that includes their flaws and mistakes and struggles, triumphs. I did not want to paint a rosy picture of every person just because we're presenting Islam. Is that people are Muslim and they go through things just like everyone else. And I think that as a teenager, we should have more portrayals that show people who are trying to find their way and maybe stumbling as they do, because that's really what I relate to when I watch films. I want to see a flawed human person. So that's why I didn't shy away from that particular scene.
All right, cool. Thanks so much. I'm really glad you included it.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's very beautiful. I think there was another question over there.
Hi, Miss Mu'min. Thank you for making this beautiful film. Like watching through the film start to finish, there's a clear like injection of light and the message of light, like through the character's quotes. When Simone Missick's character first said, when she, after coming through the mosque, she enters into Summer's room and she says like the lights, the prayer, the lights, the smells, the prayer. And even through Sheikh's the sermon, there's always a talk about light. Why was light so important to? Why was bringing light so important into this film, and why was like that imagery so like important?
Thank you for that. I think, you know, the kind of mainstream image of Islam that we see is a lot about darkness, and just darkness in the way that people just don't know what, you know, like they have no reference point for this world. And also in terms of light, when I was growing up, there was beautiful light in the masjid that we attended. Natural light from chandeliers, like just this light in the smells and the textures and the fabrics that I never saw those details really portrayed. And so I wanted to make sure that world was full of light and beauty, to kind of contrast, you know, this very kind of hard-edged image that we've seen of it in the past. So visually, we did a lot with light, like I said, natural light. With color, we had a very expansive kind of colorscape throughout this film. And we wanted to just bring this really kind of tangible teenage world and the beautiful world of Islam together. And I think light is really important for that world to exist on film.
Really beautiful. Love the metaphors. Love more metaphors. Any more questions? Yes.
Hi, great movie. I was just wondering, if you are Muslim, I don't know if you mentioned this, but also like, how was it for you growing up? Did you struggle the same way that Summer did? And how was it kind of growing up as a person of color, but then also a Muslim? And then how did you draw from that personal experience in the film, like making the film?
Definitely. Yeah, so I did grow up Muslim. I was born a Muslim, so my parents were already Muslim when I was born, and I still do identify as a Muslim. And a lot of the struggles that Summer goes through in the film, I also went through, but I didn't, like I said, I didn't have a mother who converted in front of me. So being born into it, I didn't really question it at an early age. I just loved being in the masjid and just being around Muslims. Like, that was my world. I think when I got to be a teenager and being in public school and having a lot of friends who weren't Muslim, I started to maybe act out, question things. There was a like overt sexuality that was presented to me at a very young age in junior high school that I was really confused by, because that wasn't the world that I came from. So I really felt, you know, a lot of pop culture, music, Little Kim, like just things that were just dropped into my world, and I'm just like, Little Kim, like what? Like, what am I doing? And so I wanted to like have that confusion funnel into this film, that as Black girls, there's so much projected onto the Black female body in America and in the world, that you're always fighting against projections and slut shaming. And you see some of the characters also perpetuating slut shaming because they're not immune to it, but they're a part of that cycle. And like, how do you get out of that? So I wanted to bring like all of that into Summer, and the fact that, you know, you can be all these different identities, but at the end of the day, like, who do you want to be? And like, who do you want to serve? And that was like the question that I wanted to ask through her.
I also, I also just loved how you made the film about a young Black woman like a Black woman who is also Muslim, like literally like minority, like
Right.
That was great choice. Yeah.
Yeah, intersectionality was a big thing, because I feel like sometimes we talk about Muslims and we have this one idea of what a Muslim is, and it's like, you know, African American Muslims make up a very large majority of Muslims in the United States, and I feel like we don't really get to see their story.
Might I add, considering that was your intent, you did that exquisitely. Just wanted to add that.
Anyone else? Any more questions? Yes, up at the top.
So my question for you is, how did you approach the duality of Summer's identity? Because she's kind of coming from two different worlds right now, and that like the crossroads that she's at. And when you were approaching it and when you were conceptualizing the film, were you afraid of the possibility that she might veer to one side more than the other? Or were you trying to show the holistic view of how she approaches her spirituality and her identity? Or did you want it to be a more definite choice?
Yeah, I definitely think the word holistic is great for it, because I think sometimes we want people to be Black or white. Like, there's no gray area. Like, you can't be this, you can't be that. And I wanted her to be able to exist by the end of this film in a space that she wanted to exist in, but that still honored kind of the beliefs in this film around Islam and just kind of around embracing love. You know, she felt she was in love with this boy and that she wanted to be with him. So I wanted those things to coexist. And I know a lot of times we're told they can't. And I mean, that's up for debate, but this is art. And in this film, I wanted those to coexist and to have more of a holistic kind of perception of identity, and that you can belong to different worlds and be okay with that.
That's why I think Summer feels so human in the film. Any more questions? Yes. Just right over there.
So part of my favorite part of the movie is the character development of Summer's mom. Something that really spoke to me personally was, I think I think 2 times that Summer's mom kind of told her you better wear the hijab, and I think that was like so powerful. And I just wanted to like kind of understand like what inspired you to put that particular scene that I feel like a lot of Muslim girls really relate to. I feel like there's a lot of messaging out here that's very, like, as you said, very kind of saintly about what it's like being a Muslim woman in the North America and wearing a hijab. Like, oh, it's all a choice, but sometimes it doesn't always feel like it, especially when you grow up in it. I just kind of want to know what your inspiration behind that is, because I really like felt it.
Thank you so much. Yeah, in the community I grew up in, it was so many women wear scarves and wore hijab, and it was beautiful. And a lot of it was by choice. They just made it a fashion statement. It was like the fabric. And my father sold scarves, actually. So he always had this trunk full of like multicolored scarves, silk and rayon and all these fabrics. So I just had a love of that. But at the same time, it wasn't imposed on me. My parents did not impose on me about wearing a scarf. And so I wanted to present 2 different ways. Like, you have Jade, who loves wearing her scarf. It's a form of pride and identity and love. And you have Summer, who's not sure. Like, she likes wear it, but then she doesn't. And I'm like, it's okay. Can we just see like 2 different ways? We don't have to just have one way when it comes to that, because I think we have this controversy of like this oppressed woman who just wears a scarf and doesn't want to, but a lot of people want to wear a scarf. And I just think, let's show that, but also show maybe someone who's uncertain about whether they want to wear a scarf. So I just wanted that to come through. So I'm glad that you picked up on that.
That's great. Yeah, say something, because you keep on whispering, and I just want them to hear.
I was just saying that's great, because I didn't really pick up on the duality between the mother and the daughter, but that was beautiful that you did that.
Any more questions?
And then also with that scene in the car, another thing is that Jade is not really like that angry because she's not wearing the scarf, is that she's disrespecting her. And so it's really about, you're not being open to this world I love, and you're disrespecting me, and that's really where that tension comes from.
So we got 2 questions left.
Yes.
Yes, right up there.
Right there.
Hey, I was wondering, did you experience any hardships in like finding like financial backing for this film, if any, and like what advice would you give to young filmmakers of color who are like trying to increase representation in film?
Definitely. Great question. Yes, because we knew going into this film that it wasn't a film it's not a film you see every day. There is no like model for like a Black girl's journey through Islam.
That's the best part.
Yeah, there's no model. So we made our own model. We said, we want this film to come out in this time period. We didn't want to wait 5 years to wait for a studio to understand the story. So we said, we're going to make it independently. We're going to make it low budget, but we're going to have beautiful performances, beautiful cinematography. Everything you see is going to be beautiful. And that was our kind of philosophy. And so we did a Kickstarter campaign, and then we ended up pitching the film to private equity investors. And so that gave us the opportunity to really kind of sell our story, but bring on people who believed in it and didn't want to change it. So these people had they didn't want to change kind of what I wanted to do. They just wanted to be a part of it. And that is really how we got this film made, was through the private investors. We had like a basketball player invest. We went outside of the system because we knew that that system probably was not going to probably want to make this film. We had some experience where people were like, what are you talking about? Like, what is this? Like, they had no idea what we were talking about when we pitched a story about this, because there's just been no representations like this before. So I would say, if you're, trying to increase, different representations and images, sometimes you might just have to go outside of the system and explore alternative models of making your film. Now I'm in the process of making my second film, and I'm now, trying to get it picked up by a studio because I have to, but sometimes it's better to look into ways that go outside of that kind of like mainstream model that could stop your film from getting made. There's a lot of people I talk to who say, yeah, I wanted to tell my story too, but I couldn't get it made through the dominant system. So you might just have to do a Kickstarter, do private investors. We got a lot of grants. So we got like about 5 grants that helped us finish the film. Yeah.
I'm so glad your story got to be heard because I feel like it is so important, especially during these times. Any more questions? Oh, that's tough. What do I do? Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. That's what I'll do. Can you all raise your hands? Oh, actually, yeah.
Both do it?
All right, sure.
Okay.
One,
Two. Please don't kill us. I'm so sorry.
So, her right there, and we'll give the second mic to her so that she's ready to do her question.
That was a great film. Thank you so much for that. My question is about Summer's outfits. How deliberate were her, like the choice of her clothing?
Yeah, the clothing and the hair color was all very, very deliberate. So we had kind of like a story arcs for their clothing and for like Jade's scarves, how they evolve, how when she first goes in the matches, she's kind of unsure. She has like her sleeve is short. Like she's just kind of like in there, but she doesn't really know like how to dress in there. So we had like a kind of arc that we wanted to fulfill with both characters and how they're going to dress. And you see Summer kind of taking the, bringing her own flavor to kind of Islamic dress and bringing her own style to it, which I think we just don't get to see enough of, how like stylish you can be within that type of dress. So it definitely was deliberate with Summer's wardrobe, her hair color, and with Jade's scarves and wardrobe too.
So my question was, I know independent film doesn't always go to plan, so I was wondering if there were any challenges or obstacles that sort of seemed, terrible at first, and then sort of maybe you came to appreciate them later, or maybe they ended up, making your film better overall?
Yeah, there was a lot of challenges to making this film. I think it was just that sometimes a lot of people just didn't understand why I wanted to tell this story in this way. They wanted to maybe make it more extreme, like have like this more extreme agenda with it. And I just said, I want to make a movie about identity and about falling in love and about a mother-daughter relationship. And I wasn't going to budge from that. And some people just really didn't see it that way. And so I had to kind of move away from those people who may have been supportive, but they weren't, because they didn't want to see that movie. And money, we made this movie for a very low amount of money. And it's really hard to do that. We shot this film in 18 days, which is a very like small amount of days to shoot a feature film. But we did it. Like, I sacrificed a lot of my life to make this film. I like quit some jobs, moved back home to Oakland, slept on my dad's couch. So all of those are obstacles I could have just given up and said, you know what, I can't do this. But I just kept going, and it was made.
Thank God you did overcome those challenges.
Yeah.
I think that's a great note to end on. TIFF Next Wave will be going on through Sunday, so please enjoy the rest of the festival.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.